What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Citizen Defense Podcast brought to you by Citizen Defense Firearms Training. I am Todd, the lead instructor and owner of Citizen Defense Firearms Training and the host of this podcast. And I am here with my co host, Evan. If you haven't listened to this before, please like and subscribe. Give us a follow. All those good things. Leave a comment if you would like. That would very much help people find us as well. Let us know what you think. Any questions that you have for future episodes, that would be great. So first thing is going to be this is going to be our final episode on audio. Okay, we are moving over to YouTube full time for all our content, and that's even our podcast stuff, right? Ultimately, what we're seeing out of the audio side of things, we're really not seeing a difference in what we're getting in downloads and activity on the audio side. Any difference between YouTube? So we're just gonna save some costs and kick it over straight to YouTube. And so all of this will be straight video format from here on out. Now, I will say if you did like the audio version, something that I do if there are things that are video only, I'll pull up YouTube and put my headphones in and put it in my pocket, right? Or I'll do it if I'm driving down in the car. I'm not worried about watching the video. I'm just listening to the audio of it. So if you like listening to us on audio, you can still do that off of YouTube. So do not fret. But yeah, just a heads up, we are going to be switching over to YouTube full time. So if you haven't yet, go over to our YouTube channel. That is going to be at Citizen Defense. Pretty easy. And subscribe to there to all the updates. I've been trying to do my best to make sure I'm getting new content out. While it may not be every week, I'm trying to do it every 2 weeks as an absolute that's my threshold, right? I'm making sure I'm getting content out at least every 2 weeks, but I am trying to do every week. So we'll have stuff about shooting content, things like that. I haven't had time to be on the range, but I definitely want to do some range time stuff. I got some things planned if Evan and I can ever schedule things out to get together. If we do any podcasts in moving forward in the future, hopefully we can do some stuff in person so you can have that video, feel like you're kind of like a fly on the wall there and have a little bit, be more engaged in the conversation. With that as well, we're probably going to try to start doing our podcast live on YouTube. So that way there is an opportunity for people to ask questions live and do things like that. We can interact with you there. So keep an eye out for that. While we don't have an actual schedule for that yet, like a consistent schedule right now, we're looking at recording for podcast stuff about once a month. That's what we're going at now. If we can change that frequency and do it more, we'll start doing it more. But for right now, that's what we're doing. Going over to YouTube at Citizen Defense and follow us there, subscribe, and be ready for the next content that comes out. So, Evan, how do you feel about going to YouTube?
I think it's if you look, I don't think we're really gonna lose anything, right? I mean, YouTube, most everybody at least watches YouTube videos, right? Everybody goes there for everything, anything you need, instructional wise. I generally go to YouTube to look up how to do stuff, how to find stuff. So hopefully that means that we'll still gain traffic with people looking for us. I I don't think it's gonna hurt us by that, too bad, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
More to come.
And the biggest thing we did have, we were doing well on the audio version for a while, but because like before I could just type in like topics of conversation
Hmm.
that I'm interested in for like Apple Podcasts, and it would give me a list of shows in relation to that. Now it doesn't do that. And I
Okay.
can't find our own show unless
Yeah.
I deliberately search Citizen Defense Podcast. So
Yeah.
I think Apple has changed some things in the way searches work and stuff like that. And that's very much hindered us as well. So that's where I'm hoping that the YouTube algorithm will help us out a little bit more on that and push this out to a little bit more people that are interested in this content. So we'll see how it goes. So, what do we have for this afternoon?
So the kind of what I was thinking that we could talk about, because actually I'm about to be in the market, is we've done it, a handful of times where we went in and talked about what we're running, what kind of gear we have. And I know that you've recently made a few changes to your carry gear, gear on your gun. And I was going to see if you could fill us in on some of the things you've changed. And do you think it was a good change, or, what you've kind of learned from a few of the things you've done recently? I think you just recently you said you changed your light on your carry weapon, right?
Yeah, so I was running the Streamlight TLR 7A, which is Streamlight's compact light. And I moved to a Streamlight TLR1HL, and that is their duty size light. It's 1,000 lumens, like 20,000 candela. It's a good light. Um, I was hesitant at first, but I wanted to experience using a bit, having some more oomph in my lighting. I just wasn't feeling like I was getting the performance that I was hoping I would get out of the compact. Um, and the engagement on the switches were kind of stiff on the compact light.
Mm-hmm.
And from my research of the TLR, or the TLR1HL, is the switches were very nice and easy, in the paddle system. So I was like, what the hell? I'm going to give it a try. And going to a full size light gives you the option to go to a universal style holster, which we'll get into in a minute, because that was something I was very hesitant about as well. Um, I could not be happier that I switched to a full size light. I used to, on like my draw to presentation and engaging the compact light, it was hit or miss. I was had a I struggled very hard to be consistent with that, because I
Mm-hmm.
guess like the flat push that you have to
Mm-hmm.
do, this the thumb push. Um, it was kind of stiff, and I would catch it not always at the right angle, and I wouldn't always engage the light, and it would cost me time. Um, with the TLR1, uh, I've my thumb tends to be up. All I have to do is sweep it down, and I engage the light. I catch the paddle, and it just comes right on. So I can pretty much maintain, from what I'm seeing right now in dry fire, my draw to first shot times while engaging a light
Mm-hmm.
TLR1. And for me, that is very beneficial. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like that ended up being a good change. Of course, right? Any of these changes, depending on you, depending on the person, maybe depending on how you carry, anything like that, right? You got to make adjustments to that. And I know that was one of the things you were worried about, was as far as carry and comfort with it, which I guess probably also led you to the new holster, it sounds like, or changing your holster. How did that process go?
Yeah, so and I will say too, worrying about comfort with the light, I was looking at the Surefire X300. Um, they're, you know, a TLR1 is like just under $200, I think, and a Surefire X300 is just under $300, right? So there's a
Hmm.
significant price gap between those two. Um, and I am all about performance per dollar. So I'm not going to spend buy for the name if I'm getting the same performance out of another. And like it's like Streamlights everywhere, right? They've been around
Hmm.
forever. It's not like they're a bad brand.
Yeah.
Um, so I went with the Streamline over the X300. Number one, of cost, and then number two, the length of the X300 is significantly longer than the
Okay.
TLR1. So it cuts a little bit of length on there. For me, appendix carry, that was important for me. So I liked
Hmm.
the fit of that. I didn't wasn't getting so much extra length.
Okay.
Now going into the holster, I was looking at. I do have a bit of a relationship with CNG holsters,
Hmm.
and they're great guys over there. Talk to them fairly, not I wouldn't say frequently, but on a consistent occasion. They'll reach out to me, see how things are going, and I was going to go with them again because the one that I had previously that I ran has been fine. It's been an awesome holster. Uh, but when I thought about that I was going to a full size light, I know they have some universal options out there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to look around at some of these because then, as long as I have a full size light, like a TLR1, it doesn't matter what I choose to run, that holster will accommodate that. So
Mm,
that could be once again, per, uh, perfor- dollar per performance, right?
mm-hmm.
Or value per performance. Um, so I started looking around. I know Filster makes good stuff, so I looked at their floodlight. It seemed kind of. I don't want to speak on it too much because I don't really have experience with it, but it looked sort of oversized and overly rounded for what it was. Um,
Okay.
and so I started looking at some other options in between. It came between Filster and Tier One concealment, and Tier One concealed has the MSP holster, which is a collaboration with Scott Jedlinski, Modern Samurai Project, and so that's their collaboration with him. So it's a universal holster. It works only with a TLR1HL or an X300. So I went back and forth, looked at a lot of reviews, and they were pretty much like there were not really bad reviews about either one. But you could definitely tell that there was a bit more of a different footprint versus a dedicated fitted holster, a
Mm-hmm.
molded holster, right? So I ended up pulling the trigger on the tier one. They had some free
Mm-hmm.
ship options. I wasn't worried about crazy colors, just wanted black. Got that. Came in, switched out my DCC clips off the CNG holster and put it on there because I'm a big DCC clips fan. And I've been absolutely thrilled with this holster. I will say people talk about how well tier one holsters conceal. I will say that in my personal opinion, I think that this universal holster conceals better than my dedicated one did, or
Okay.
my dedicated molded one did, like specifically for the Walther PDP and the compact light.
Do you do you
And
think do you think that's because it the size like dissipates it better, or what do you?
no, so the big thing with the tier one, what I noticed is how they mount where your clips mount.
Okay.
So where I don't know, I don't have the other one. So like the other one that I had, the clips were on the front, and on
Okay.
the side there's like a little bit of a cant to like
Okay.
offset to kind of make the holster move with the belt,
Okay.
pull it some. The tier one does that a lot more. They added a
Hmm.
lot more angle to that one clip, so when you put it in your pants, it makes it
Okay.
over to your grip side, and then plus with the wedge and you cinch your belt down, I mean it just tucks everything in
Huh.
really nice and clean.
Okay.
And I've for the first little bit of experience that I have on it, we'll see as time
Mm-hmm.
progresses. I've been very happy with the concealment, the wearability on this, and I still paired it with I use a Mastermind tactical wedge on the back of mine. It's a little pillow,
Mm-hmm.
essentially makes it really comfortable for appendix carry and still gives me that wedge to kick the bottom out.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, it's like that's my bread and butter there right now. I can carry a compact gun, I would say a decent sized compact gun with a full size light and an optic, and can conceal it in a t-shirt.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's good. Um, I know another thing you changed because I ended up picking up I think the one you took off of you. You recently updated your light, and that was through doing some research and finding some stuff that you thought was going to help, or not light, your sight, sorry, because you had done some research and found one that you thought would help you. And so, any updates on that? How you think that's going, and what your previous one was, and the one you went to?
Yeah, so I originally had the HoloSun 507C on here. It was not my first 507C. I've ran a 507C for a while, and honestly, uh, before I even switched to a red dot, Evan was the one that kind
Mm-hmm.
of helped drive that train home, because I was doing well enough with iron sights that I wasn't sure. In my opinion, at that time, I was doing well enough with iron
Yeah.
sights, and it was kind of the mentality of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I realized the benefits of a red dot and finally made the transition. So yeah, I've been running the HoloSun 507C for quite a few years. Um, and I just kind of wanted to change things up a little bit. Now, I will be honest with you. When we tried to say that, we don't try not to worry about how gear looks and things like that, part of my decision on this was because this version of the Hollow Sun is more aesthetically appealing to me. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that I went to is the 508T. Now, I was going to go to the 509T, which is the closed emitter Hollow
Mm-hmm.
Sun. But once again, cost, you know, cost per performance. I just really didn't feel that I was going to gain a whole lot of benefit out of the enclosed emitter. But I still like the idea of the increased reliability of any entanglement situations, gun being dropped, or anything like that of the optic, being able to withstand those issues, racking off of any objects. Not that I do that or train that, but it's nice knowing that I have an optic that can hold up to those things if I ever had to. So I opted for the 508T. Um, and surprisingly enough, I, so I have a slight astigmatism. So anybody who may not be aware, if you have an astigmatism with red dots, they're not going to come out crisp and clean dots. They're going to look like they have starbursts. Think of like um, if you may not have looked through a red dot with an astigmatism, you know what I'm talking about because you see red traffic lights and they starburst,
Mm-hmm.
headlights starburst. Um, so it's going to be that same effect. And the 507C did starburst for me. Now, it wasn't like it drove me crazy, right? I really could care less. I'm target focused. I'm not looking at the dot. But what I did notice with the 508T, I don't know if so the 507C has a round hood, the
Mm-hmm.
508T has a square hood. I don't know if it
Okay.
has to do with the shape of the glass, if there's a little bit of change on something with the glass tint or the coating, or something with the glass itself. But the 508T does not starburst near the amount that I have on the had on the 507C, and it's almost to like it's almost a crisp dot for me, minus just a little bit of starbursting points
Mm-hmm.
around the dot, but it's very minimal compared to the 507C. So I don't know what they did there, what changed.
Yeah.
I do know that the 508s that they have now is their version 2. The first
Okay.
they had their button layouts like their brightness increase
Mm-hmm.
buttons on a different pattern on the side, and they
Mm-hmm.
ended up changing that. But yeah, I don't know what they did, but I've been happy with it, and I wouldn't go back now. I would definitely buy. I like it enough. I'd buy it twice.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Um, what about any other gear changes lately, or does that pretty much cover all your gear changes lately?
That's been about it. So the only thing that I did, and I did a part one on this, like for a custom build that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I did that before, and with the P80 stuff, and which P80s, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't try to shoot them in the manner that I did before. Like they're fun, they're hobby things,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't consider them anything near of a shooting them at a performance based level.
Mm-hmm.
But um, what I did do after I've started wearing out my slide and stuff quite a bit, holster wear and things like that on the PDP, um, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it Cerakoted, get it touched up,
Mm-hmm.
get a Cerakote on it. I had like I like the texture the OEM texture on the Walther PDP. Personally,
Okay.
I think it's the best texture on a polymer frame on the market right now, from what I've put hands
Hmm.
on. It's the
Yeah.
more aggressive one. And I could get a good grip, good contact on the PDP frame, but it's like, man, it would be nice to have something just a little bit more aggressive. I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get a stipple job. Like,
Yeah.
there's another gentleman that I know. He worked with a guy out of Houston, and that is Kevin from Mac Gunworks. And I felt the stipple job on his, and it was really nice. I liked it a lot, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for this. Got it. He did a really good job, and it's been awesome. I will
Hmm.
say it's it's enough that like on the surface of touching it, like
Hmm.
really won't seem like it's that aggressive, but once you like grab it,
Hmm.
like it just bites in. And so
Yeah.
I don't, you probably can't see, but I'm already like, I've got like cuts and calluses on my palm here and stuff,
Hmm.
just because it's a new texture, right? I've got to get used to it, different wear spots. But yeah, it's like, it's the bee's knees in my opinion. I haven't got to go do a whole lot of live fire with it yet, but it definitely bites in and you can get good surface contact on it. I really haven't had any issues with it. I was concerned about like rubbing my appendix area raw. Uh,
Yeah.
it's actually decent. I mean, it's
Okay.
not as smooth as the OEM texture, right? Like you feel
Hmm.
it, you move around, you feel it, you know it's there.
Hmm.
But it's not to a point to where it's like, God, I got to get this thing off of me.
Yeah. How did he give you an option of how like aggressive that stippling was going to be? Like, was it considered aggressive or mild, or I don't know if he had options as far as that goes.
Yeah, so Kevin's got several options He does one that is let me see if I can remember the names.
Hmm.
His lowest one is the EDC package, which the way he described it, he said it's more texture than a standard Glock frame has.
Okay.
So he said it's pretty minimal,
Okay.
more than a standard Glock. Then he has like, I think it's sprinkles, like a sprinkles pattern.
Okay.
He said that's a level up, but it's still not too crazy aggressive. And then it goes into, I think it was the Charlie, which that's the one that I have. And
Okay.
so that's the under the highest one, and then the next one I
Okay.
forgot which one it's called. But for the last one, he said that he tells people that he doesn't recommend the highest level one unless you're running it on outside the waistband or a duty holster. He said because it's
Okay.
very, very aggressive stippling.
Okay. Well,
So
that's
I
good.
went with the one under it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great.
Okay. That's good to know. I was just asking that as far as a reference for if anybody was thinking about stippling, like, trying to get an idea of maybe how to gauge it.
Yeah,
Um, okay. Well, that's good.
and
Uh,
I think depending on how aggressive the texture is going to be is definitely going to be dependent on the person doing the stippling, right?
yeah.
Um, my aggressive versus your aggressive may not be exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. So I don't know for sure. I haven't had a ton of stippling done, but I
Sure.
would think it would vary depending on who's doing the work.
Yeah, and that would of course come into where if anytime you're in a modify, like this is a irreversible modification essentially for, I mean, other than doing other stippling, if you can, it may be good to go talk to the person, actually maybe go see them in person, get to try their hand on it. If not, you're gonna take the gamble of if you're gonna like it or not. So that's all I would say. Preface with the if you want to do stippling, just be aware that you're gonna get what they send you back, and sounds like yours went well.
Yeah, and
So
I will say that that's is if you're considering getting a stipple job done, that is also a good time to consider that if there are any certain spots on the polymer mold that is very uncomfortable to you in your hands,
Hmm.
that is a good time to talk to them and like, "Hey, I don't like this. Can you take that off or smooth it
Oh,
down?"
yeah. I didn't even think
Because
about
I
that.
did the same thing with mine. I have uh, it is now become a lifelong, I say it's a lifelong, you probably can't see it, callus
Hmm.
right here on my
Yeah.
finger, and that is mostly from where on the Walters, so at the mag release button, they have,
Hmm.
like, these little paddle flares there. I
Hmm.
say it's like a paddle flare, that's what it looks like from the bottom,
Yeah.
but it's something with the mold, like, with the undercut right there, and it's kinda, like, supposed to be a guard because it has an ambidextrous mag release, so you can
Hmm.
switch to either side. It's
Yeah.
supposed to act as a guard from accidentally engaging the
Yeah.
mag release. But
Yeah.
when you don't have the mag release on the opposite side, you just have this big flare of plastic. And so for me, whenever I would grip it, my finger here would
We'll just rub it.
it would just pinch it up
Hmm.
against it. And it was just like it would get to a point in where I would dry fire and like I couldn't grip the gun the way normally would. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to dry fire if I'm not going to hold the gun the way I'm going to hold it when I'm shooting because
Yeah.
then I'm developing bad habits. So I asked him, I'm like, dude, can you take this off and take it out? And he's like, yeah, man, no problem. So
That's
he
cool.
jet that
Yeah.
off there and evened it out on both sides, and it's great.
See, that's something I wouldn't even have thought of, but that's another good point that it is polymer. You can modify at least to a certain extent to fit your hand better. But that's, I mean, that's a really good point. I honestly, that thought hadn't even crossed my mind of actually, taking material off to adjust it to fit your hand better.
Yeah, that's a great option right there. So yeah, if you have anything that's bothering you or rubbing you or you don't like you like the gun, but there's some minor details that kind of bug you, that's a great place to get it taken care of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's yours, right? Make it yours. Make it fit.
Absolutely.
You're not building it for someone else,
Well,
especially if
and
it's your everyday carry, right? You want it to be or if it's a gun, basically if it's a gun you always shoot, make it as comfortable as it can be for you to shoot because then you will shoot.
manufacturers like they have to hit it at some
Hmm.
point they have to make it somewhat broad, right?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
why interchangeable back straps became a thing because of
Hmm.
fitment issues. And so Walter definitely trying to do their, everything ergonomic and
Yeah,
things like that. They had some things that they did, and they're trying to uh, develop things in a way that reduces human error, I guess you could say, accidentally hitting the mag
mm,
release. And I mean, I get it, right? Like that's a good design. I think that's a good
yeah,
design idea. Um, but ultimately, at the end, for some people, it may not be the best thing. Like for me, so.
yeah. So you were saying, did you take the ambidextrous off of yours? Is it only right hand mag release now, or is that did I or is it
No,
still
you can
ambidextrous?
still
Okay.
swap it because all it is like two locked in pieces, and
Oh,
so
I
you
got you.
just unclip them and then
I
flip
got you.
it over and put them back in.
I didn't realize. I thought whenever you said that, I thought it was like basically ambidextrous at all times, but you got to swap the
Yeah,
actual mag release.
yeah.
Okay, okay, that makes more sense. I was just wondering. At first, whenever you said that, I wasn't sure if like it came because like mine uh, came truly like ambidextrous, right, where you can hit it from both sides. So that's what I was thinking when you said that initially. Um, but like
Which
I've
was that came that way?
the FN.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they
Yeah,
were ambidextrous.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm left-handed, so it works for me, and that was part of what I looked at when I bought it. But I'd always wondered how it would feel if I didn't have, the right-handed release on it. But not that that's not really hurting me at this time. Um, what are you using as a belt nowadays for your carry belt?
So I changed my belt right before I took Tom Given's Range Master Instructor Development course,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because I was going to be driving 2 hours a day,
Hmm.
and I was going to be spending class time. So prior to that, I was using a Blue Alpha gear. belt. It was like their
Mm-hmm.
EDC when it's just a polymer buckle and it slips through and then velcros through. Um, I've had that thing for a couple of years and it's a good belt, but it was getting to the point to where I needed some sort of give, like wherever my gun wasn't, I needed give
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of it. Uh,
Okay.
so I was going to buy a Hunter Constantine belt.
Mm-hmm.
He did not have any in stock at the time. So,
Okay.
hey, well, shit. So I'll start, and I wanted to have it for the class
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to be uncomfortable through a 3 day training course. So I started looking around, and there's one I saw somewhere, but I could not remember the name. And I went back, looked through all kinds of stuff I could remember, and finally found it. And it's a weird name. It's called a Gonic. Actually, I have it on right here.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me while I strip. So this is the Agonic belt.
Okay.
Um it has an aluminum buckle
Gotcha.
and it's just got a hook. And so the belt is kind of like this elastic webbing and it
Mm-hmm.
has these hoops in here. So it comes to a standard length and then you cut it just prior to the stitching and then burn it off for whatever you need your length to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is about this, it is like super elastic. Like I'm
Okay.
look how much
Mm-hmm.
my hands are moving
Yeah.
when I'm stretching this right now. But when it comes to where you need the weight supported, it has a placard
Okay.
inside of it. So you can move this for wherever
Oh,
you
okay.
want to, if you want to carry appendix, if you want to carry strong side, wherever, and it has a little catch. If you wear this thing out, you can just buy a new one. I forgot what this material is called, but they use it on some other stuff as well
Hmm.
currently.
Okay.
But the cool thing too is it doesn't take long. Like it holds the form to your body.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take shape after a little bit. And this has been by far since I have ever started carrying, this has by far been the best, most comfortable belt that
Mm-hmm.
I have had. So a SEER instructor created this, and
Okay.
this is kind of a cool little touch. I really don't care about it that much, but it's kind of neat. So when he made this with these webbings inside these gaps,
Mm-hmm.
inside this belt, there's like two little rubber linings inside of it. So inside of these little sleeves here, you can put like handcuff keys, things like that, little stuff
Oh,
that you
okay.
would want to
Yeah.
carry on your belt. You can stick it in there and it'd stay in place. I think if you really wanted to, you could also cut the stitching on one of those and open up one of these two sections here, and you could stow a magazine in it or something if
Hmm.
you wanted. Like
Okay. Yeah,
there
that'd be
are
kind of cool.
options with it. I mean, is it a like if I was to would I wear this belt on a tucked in shirt? Absolutely not,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah,
screams
it's
kind of
certainly
like
not a, yeah,
tactical ish.
it's
Like
not a
it's a
dress belt.
different
Yeah.
belt. Yeah. But I've used Core Essentials. I've had the
Mm-hmm.
Next belt, Blue Alpha Gear. Um, I think Core sucks. I think Next belt sucks. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Blue Alpha Gear is good, but something
Mm-hmm.
that's got some stretch and some give in it and the support where
Yeah.
you need it, I think is the way to go. So if I was going to recommend anything, I would
Mm-hmm.
recommend the Agonic or the Hunter Constantine belt. I know a guy that has a Hunter Constantine belt and he says it's awesome. And his
Okay.
is kind of the same way. It's got the support where you need it and it's all stretchy and stuff
Okay.
for movement.
Well, cool. All right. That pretty much covers most of it. I think we've hit the high notes of your
Yeah,
kind of your updated gear.
I haven't really changed anything else. Weren't you? You've still been thinking about trying to decide if you're going to stick with the FN or not, right?
Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I mean, I can't be upset with it, right? Like it's by far my pistol I'm most proficient with. Yeah. The problem I have, right, is I've shot other guns and I know I shoot. It's like in the back of my mind, I know I shoot a little better with other frames, right? That for whatever reason they fit my hand better. I always go back to the Canic or Janic or however people want to pronounce it. I always go back to that one that I picked up one and I shot almost as good as I do with my FN with one of those that I just picked up to like basically test fire at the range. And, it's one of those things. It's like, man, I can't really dispute that. Like looking at that, I'm like looking at downrange. I'm looking at the target, and I've got a group of five I shot prior to shooting that with my FN, and I've got my group of five that I shot with the Canic, and like the spread on the Canic is tighter than my FN with my red dot, and I'm shooting iron sights on the Canic that I just took from their rental fleet of guns that they had, and I don't know. Is it, for me, it's one of those things of I can either practice more with FN and save, another however much I'm going to be into the gun by the time I get there, right? 600 to $1,000, let's just say, depending on what I do to it. To, if I find stuff I don't like, or do I just take that money and then just put time and maybe take another class or two with the FN? And then there's the whole the 2011 thing, right? Of even going. No, I mean honestly, like I've heard like Coleon Noir talk about like it it his I don't remember. I think he was talking to Rogan or somebody, but he said the 2011 is like a cheat gun. Like it'll take you if you're a good shooter, right? It just makes you better because the gun's so easy and so nice to use. It's one of those things of like, do I now I've gotten better about it, but used to I'd be like, oh man, that looks cool, and then I'd go get it, and then I'd be like, why'd I get this?
Yeah,
And that's my
I think
biggest
that's
thing.
all of
And
us.
yeah, right. We've talked about this before. I had a bad propensity of being like, man, I think that'll make me better, and then I'd go buy it, and then it's like, I don't think it made a difference. Like I've got the Apex trigger, or I think that's what it is in my FN. Like I did all that stuff. I mean, again, it's a very good gun. Like I'm not upset with the gun. I won't talk bad on FN. Like the gun runs great. I've never had an issue with it. I don't even think I've ever had it jam on me. And I can't fault the gun. I think what it comes down to is like my hand, right? My hand fitting the gun and being able to get a better grip. And I think that's what I talk about for me is trying to figure out, what gun fits my hand the best. Um, like I've got plenty of grip strength, but like my fingers aren't that long. So it's like I can squeeze the shit out of something, but it's like my fingers don't interlock. I don't know. I always feel like my fingers aren't quite there, right? Like whenever I wrap my hand around,
Take my
and
strong hand.
yeah, right. That's what kind of sucks is it's like I never, and maybe that's what it is, right? Maybe it's just that Um, because Carl Wren from KR Training told me that whenever we took, I think I don't remember if it was, I think it was an instructor course with him. Because like why he shoots the gun he shoots is because his fingers don't like to wrap. He's got shorter fingers, and like when we did the whole strength test during that thing, that was where like my strength was plenty, but I was still having issues. And like he was watching me shoot, he could see that it was grip issues, right? And so again, I was shooting the FN, shoots great. You've shot it. Every people have shot it. It's not
It's
like
been
there's
a
an
long
issue with the
time
gun.
since I shot it, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
never shot it since you got the Apex.
oh,
Um,
okay.
I am curious, which I'll get to it here in a second, but um, yeah, the biggest thing that I've learned, the way the gun fits you can make a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of difference. You would be amazed. Well, you probably wouldn't be amazed, but I've had people that come to class and like their gun just does not fit them, right?
Yeah.
They can't, they're reaching to try to get to the trigger.
Hmm.
And that's another thing too. Like older Glocks don't have the interchangeable back straps, so they're
Yeah.
stuck with what they got. So fitment very much is a big deal on your performance level of how capable you can be with that. Um, so yeah, I
And
mean, definitely. I personally, me, if you have something that doesn't fit you well, and you can afford to get something else or
Yeah.
sell that and get something else, I would highly recommend to get something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my hardest part is like, what route do I go? Right. And that's where I was saying, like, I want to shoot like a 2011 and see, does that
Yeah.
frame? Because I know like my 1911, I love, like, I'll shoot that gun all day long. I just love how it fits my hand. It's not real practical for me for what I look for in a carry gun because I want to be able to carry more than 8 rounds personally. Like, I'm not saying that if you carry that, that's the end of the world or anything like that. But personally, I would rather have more rounds. And that hence enters the 2011 because roughly should be a similar fill. But again, I haven't. Hell, the local range actually has staccatos you can go rent and shoot. I've just never done
Nice.
it. Like part of me doesn't want to do it because I don't want to go shoot them and then find out like, oh, this is what I want, and it's like, oh, how much is that? Like, $3,000 to $5,000 depending on which model you're getting. And that's a hard thing for me too because then I start like. Uh, I shouldn't be this way, but if I spend a lot of money on a gun, I'm going to be really worried about tearing it up, scratching it.
Yeah.
And in the end, my carry gun, if it gets dinged up or beat up or anything like that, I can't worry about that. Like, but
Well, that's
it's
why you just
going to
buy
happen.
two.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, so that's my whole thing is like, it, I've gotten to the point where it's like whatever I buy next, I want to be my kind of end all be all, right? Like it's my carry gun. Like you've managed to, like with your PDP, you went and you got to shoot one at that same instructor course. You really liked it, and so far it's been great for you. Like that's sounds like that's the gun that fits you extremely well. No real reason to change that, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to land on. Because like again, I can't argue with the functionality. Like FN made a great product. Like the gun I have from FN is great. And I can't say that enough. Like I really like it. I actually kind of got talked into it, and I happen to have gift cards, so it worked out. But like originally, I wasn't gonna walk out of there with that gun that day, but it works very well. Like I always equate it to if you think of Glock as like a Honda Civic, maybe a FN's up into the BMW range or something like that. Like it's just a better quality put together gun, in my opinion. Runs smoother. The only thing it lacked was the trigger was kind of gritty, and that's why I changed the trigger. So
That's where I was going to go with it. So I've
yeah,
heard that the trigger was really gritty.
yeah.
Did you feel that the Apex made a very significant improvement in that, or is it
So
just a
for
little heavy?
the Apex for me, it's got an extremely hard wall. So like the first time you shoot it, if you're not ready for that, like it could cause you to pull because it's got a harder wall. Now, shooting with it, right? I've shot with it plenty since then. I can shoot with it and that doesn't bother me. But that was the only thing that I was kind of like, man, I wasn't expecting it to be that hard of a wall to hit. But again, not the end of the world. Shoots great, trigger performs how it's supposed to. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I land on my gun is I'm trying to figure out that missing piece because I have a good gun. I can't fault it. It's a good carry gun. I can keep it on me at all times. I feel confident with it. I can shoot well with it. Whatever I go to next, and that goes back to what we were talking about, fitting your gun, right? And maybe it's worth talking to someone that does stippling. Maybe they look at it and go, "Hey, I think maybe we can trim some stuff and maybe make it fit better." I don't know. I do find myself like when I talk about the finger thing, and I know because of I, I know I'm not supposed to, but like I have to rotate it to hit my mag release, right? So I have to rotate
Yeah,
my grip,
I will
and
say that's kind of common through a lot of stuff.
yeah,
I wouldn't get too hung up
no,
on
but
that one, but
and I'm not, right? Like that's why that didn't cause me to change it. But it's one of those things of like I know I have to like basically I've got to break my grip, no matter what.
yeah.
Um, so there's some things like I don't know on that gun because I don't run a light. I need to, or I want to. Not that I need to, I want to. I don't know how well I'd be able to function like the controls for a light either. Again, not the end of the world. I'll figure that stuff out as I get going more. Um, but like right now, I'm gonna keep shooting it and keep trying to And I don't know. I think I probably need like a month or 2 months of just hardcore shooting with it, and doing a lot of dry fire to just really decide, like, okay, is this the route I'm going, or do I want to just go ahead and change? So it's
Yeah.
just me. I got to
I
just buckle down and really
looking at
look at it.
the photo of the FN compact now, the FN 509. A little bit of an undercut on the trigger guard, like a little bit more undercut may make a difference in how much more you can get on there with your fingers, but I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure. Um, yeah, so talking about, you're thinking about 2011s. I would say don't count out, a lot of guys that were in the or companies that were in the polymer game are coming out with their steel frame versions now too.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Walter had the PDP, they have their steel frame
Hmm.
PDP. Canic released a steel frame.
Yeah. I've seen more people are getting more in, like, kind of back interested into the steel frame.
Yep.
Um, like, I've shot, again, other than my 1911 and my revolver, everything else is polymer. I've never been someone that's scared of polymer. I'll be honest, I like the feel of a steel frame gun. I don't, maybe I'm partial because my first pistol was a 1911, right? But I've always liked the feel of a steel frame. Now my caveat to that is, for carry, you're adding weight to your carry. So in the end, is that good, bad? It's one of those things, you got to wear it. And
Yeah.
do you
And that's
like
kind
it?
of
Do you
hard,
not
right?
like
You
it?
can't really try that out before you
True.
get out the store. So you really don't.
That's
And
true.
even then, you could put it on the first time, be like, "Oh, this feel great," and then you
And
wear
then
it
you
for
wear it
2 weeks,
for,
and
yep,
you're like, "Shit, this sucks."
yeah, the belt's pulling on you weird or pressing on your
Yeah.
hips, or again, uh, all that can be worked around, right? Or maybe it's not enough of a weight difference to make a difference. I carried my 1911 a little bit whenever I first got my concealed carry license because I didn't have another gun. And honestly, it carried just fine. I mean, the weight didn't bother me. Um, so honestly, I don't know, by the time you do polymer versus steel, if it makes that big of a difference. I mean, you could always, like, that's where we just talked about belts, right? Maybe whatever belt you had for your polymer gun doesn't work for your steel gun and you try a little bit different, or maybe it doesn't affect it at all and you just swap it out and you're good to go. I wonder, so like on the PDP, on the steel, is it pretty much, is the steel one look exactly the same as the polymer, or is it actually different?
It's slightly different.
Okay.
And it has some different grip panels on there, so you can
Hmm.
change out like the grip panels.
Okay.
I think there are some grip panels that are, I forgot what brand they are, but they have a little bit more palm swell to them. So they
Okay.
widen out a little bit and they're more
Okay.
aggressive. I've heard good things about those.
Okay.
And then some guys have taken like the regular grip panels,
Hmm.
they pull them off and they'll silicon carbide them and then
Okay.
put them back on because if you there are some,
Hmm.
excuse me, guys that'll use silicon carbide on the polymer PDP, but that's permanent, right? Because you're using
Yeah.
JB weld. But if you
Yeah.
do it on a removable grip panel,
Yeah. You can always
then
swap it out
yeah,
if you want to take
yeah.
it off.
So
Mm.
that's kind
Okay.
of a fun and an interesting thing that some guys have been doing. I know Nick from Velox Training Group,
Hmm.
him and Joel Park talk about silicon carbide fairly often. They tend to like it quite a bit for a texture uh,
Hmm.
consideration and for like an easy DIY if you're a
Hmm.
DIY person. So you may check out like some of the stuff that they're doing, may kind of give you like some ideas. Anyways, I know Nick's shooting. They're all those dudes are shooting the steel frames now because they're on
Yeah.
Walker's pro staff. But yeah, they're pretty sick. Even God dog, I forgot what his name was. Texas Totem that was on our podcast when we
Yeah.
really first got started. He's been
Hmm.
running a Walter steel frame compact, and he got
Oh, okay.
coated. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, they're nice. They're definitely uh, what is it? It's like an eighteen
It's,
hundred dollar gun, I think.
yeah.
So, but
Mm.
everybody says good things about them. I mean,
You're
yeah,
almost, you're
it's
getting up into the, oof. Well, and
So
that's where I'm at. You're getting up into the like that's what's tough. Like
right,
if I'm gonna
yeah,
make that decision, I want to make sure I make the decision on the right one.
yeah. Now the steel frame, um, the steel frame Canic, I'm trying to remember. I saw a price tag on one of those before. I think they're under $1,000.
Are they? Oh
I
wow.
think, or
Okay.
they're right at it.
Yeah.
Um, they're somewhere around there. I could be wrong.
Did you ever see the Kinnick? They were running like the limited series, like the Miami Vice and stuff like that.
No,
Oh, they were pretty. I don't know if they still have them. They were pretty sick looking. Like they were custom Cerakoted and stuff like that. Like it
yeah.
was, yeah.
I know now they're
Um,
pushing the Terran Tactical one, the TTI Combat.
yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I can't get behind some of that stuff too. But right now, comps and everything are really hot
Yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah.
Like Walther just came out with their collaboration with Parker Mountain Machine. So they have it's a full size frame with a compact slide with a
Hmm.
Parker Mountain Machine comp on it. So it makes it a flush 5-inch gun.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's doing that.
I still haven't shot with a comp on any of my guns, so I would be interested to see if it's a noticeable difference. I guess the best way to do that would be you need to shoot whatever gun with it and then shoot it without it and see if you actually can tell the difference.
Yeah.
I've always
Um,
wondered.
I'm trying to. So there was another manufacturer I sent you a while back since you were talking about 2011s, and that was the A. Is it the OA
Just a
AO
second, let me find
Defense
it. Yeah, let me find it.
2311? Those are pretty sick.
I think yeah, look at it real quick. I think that's what it was. Let's see what was it? Trying to see where he said what it was in here. Yeah, dang. Yeah, it didn't. I'd have to. I had to actually listen to the video. It doesn't say on there. Ooh, he said it's 4,000. Someone in the comments said it was 4,000.
They could
Damn.
be. I don't remember. Now, Hunter Constantine did a video review on a 2011. I forgot what the company name is, but you can look it up on YouTube. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a company out of Arizona, and they give you like a pretty loaded package of a 2011 um, for um, for like $3,000.
Okay.
So he said in his opinion, he thought it was the best value for
Yeah.
2011. And then have you seen the platypuses?
Mm-mm.
So they're 2011 and they take Glock mags.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys at the local matches that have run them.
Yeah.
There don't seem to be any issues with them from what I've seen. But you can order them like with whatever colors you want and things like that. But yeah, they take standard Glock mags.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, that makes it easier. Probably that'll save you money on mags. That's for sure.
But yeah, so that could be something to look at too.
Yeah. The hardest part's gonna be trying to like I know where I can shoot a staccato, right? So I can at least shoot a 2011 and decide, okay, is this the route I want to go? And then delving off into different types is where it's probably going to get hard to figure out at that point.
Yeah. The only thing I guess you could say, like, would I like to have a 2011 like for good times at the range? Yes. I wouldn't want to have to screw with some thumb safeties. I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
having to deal with safeties
Well, yeah, I
carrying
don't.
guns. That's
I've
my
never.
thing.
Yeah, I've never understood why they didn't do away with those. And I don't know. Maybe some of them don't have them on it. I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't looked that close at them. But um, yeah, I don't. At this day and age, with how most guns are carried, you would have thought they would have just went to the trigger safety and did away with the external safety. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they can. I don't think they can get away with that with a hammer fired though.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
But yeah, well, we're right here at 54 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. All y'all that have followed us on audio only, we appreciate it. Thank you. please go over and continue to follow us and support us on YouTube if you like what we're doing. We're putting out other content over there. Things have been moving a little bit slow here on range stuff at the end of the year, coming up to the holidays. Hopefully, after the first of the year, all that's going to pick back up and you'll get more range footage coming up here in the near future. So, like we said, this is our last audio episode. Please go over and follow us at Citizen Defense on YouTube. Uh, Outside of that, I hope everybody has a great week, has a great Thanksgiving, and y'all stay safe.